Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Buffong. We're here on Criticize It, don't criticize it, legalize it. Thanks for joining us today. I'm so honored to have an amazing CEO, an amazing advocate with us today, Mr. Daniel Wacks, who is the CEO of State Flower. Welcome, Mr. Wax. Welcome to Don't Criticize It, Legalize It. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, for sure. So let's just go ahead and get started. Those people that are joining us are excited to hear about who you are. So please tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from.
Born and raised in California. Went to college in UC Santa Cruz, which at that time may be considered by some to be kind of an epicenter of sorts of cannabis.
Yeah. 420 started there, I think.
A number of things started there. And that, as the legend goes, some would say that 420 started there as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm basically just a home grower who never stopped turning off lights and kept expanding, and really fortunate to be here. Have an amazing team, formed some great partnerships over the years, and still just keep pushing this rock up the hill.
That's awesome. Somebody's got to do the footwork, and so tell us about how you got involved with the cannabis industry.
Yeah, so I mean, unofficially, I've always been a huge cannabis enthusiast. I mean, since the school days. More officially speaking, I went to South Africa in university and did a field study where I was focusing on HIV/AIDS prevention, monitoring a peer education program for the Western Cape Education Department, which was a branch of the South African government. And kind of through that work, had met some people that had been really interested in getting involved in legalization, and it was really still just kind of a movement in California at that time. I mean, there were some dispensaries starting to open in South Africa. I mean, nobody was ever even dreaming of legalization, which I'm happy to report they're actually having some pretty involved discussions about moving that direction now. There's been some setbacks, but that seems to be the trend. We are heading in that direction there, and in other countries in Southern Africa as well. So really excited about that. That's where my family's from originally. Have relatives out there that were growers and just kind of always have loved cannabis. So came back to the U.S. and started getting involved. Graduated university, and then started just kind of dabbling in cultivation. I met a owner of a hydroponic supply store who was now super successful, then just had one store, and he kind of took me under his wing, and him and my close friend, Zach, I won't say his last name, he'll remain nameless, kind of, showed me the ropes, taught me some things back in 2004, and started again as just a home grower, moved up to Oakland in 2005 and started expanding, and kept on keeping on until more recently partnered with the amazing folks at the Apothecarium, which is a retail chain in California and Nevada. And we partnered together to pursue some vertically integrated licenses in Nevada, which are the Apothecarium is the retail arm on West Sahara in Las Vegas, Kiva Confections, Nevada, Valhalla Confections, Nevada, and then of course State Flower, Las Vegas, which is located right in the heart of the city, across maybe a quarter mile from the Strip. We are based out of San Francisco. That's our headquarters, but more recently been working a lot in Nevada.
Oh, wow. That is so awesome. So now and that explains your art in the back, the South African heritage. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's so cool. And the fact that you mentioned HIV, you work with HIV and AIDS patients over there, overseas. I was diagnosed last year with HIV. And so that is something that is close to me personally in working through using cannabis. I use cannabis, a patient, to help with the side effects that come with the virus, and also taking a holistic approach to help heal my body. So I'm really excited to get to know you even just a little bit more. That's awesome work that you've done there. So so many of our readers and viewers are living in states where medical cannabis is not accessible to them. And because of that, they are really passionate about seeing cannabis legalized or at least made available for medical access. What was it like for you in the beginning, like, getting involved?
Yeah, I mean, it was really just a movement. There was, these kind of unofficial dispensaries that would pop up and get shut down. It was sort of a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some form of legality since '96 in California, but
in California, yeah,
it was never straightforward. And even now, I mean, we have new regulations. It's been a bit of a moving target here, but yeah, I mean, we're slowly figuring it out. I like to say we're building the airplane as we're flying it.
Isn't that interesting? And even Nevada. How recent did Nevada go legal?
Well, they announced that they were going to have an application process in 2013. But I believe 2000, they created their first set of medical regs. And, the way they did it there, unfortunately, was really to issue everybody in the state a cease and desist and start a, more official application process. There were existing businesses on the medical side in Nevada, but everyone did get shut down. California took more of the approach that they would bring everyone into compliance that was interested in pursuing that, and was obviously in a place that had, legal local regulations to support cultivation and other cannabis activities. So Nevada did have an industry. Most people have forgotten about it at this point because it's now has a very different face.
Right. And so is Nevada one of our recreational legal states?
Absolutely. Yeah. They started early rec in July of last year. It's been booming ever since.
I'm sure it's Las Vegas. It's the headquarters of Party Central for the United States. So what keeps you in this industry when so many others are just dropping out?
Honestly, it's about all I'm qualified to do. It's about the only thing I've ever really been passionate about professionally. I have no idea what I would do if I wasn't pursuing some business interest in cannabis.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because even though I have been a cannabis user for almost 20 years now, I had never considered being a part of the industry until I got the diagnosis. And then it was like, wait, why haven't I been a part of this for the last 20 years? Like I am missing, I'm behind the 8 ball. I need to understand what's happening. And it's funny that you mentioned the international influence that you had regarding the plant, because that is what my future is looking like. I'm first generation American, so both of my parents still have connections in the Caribbean and South America. So I'm excited about expanding my efforts into those countries, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when at this point.
Absolutely, yeah. There's already some legalization in Jamaica. I just got back from St. Kitts and Nevis, and there's rumblings of talking about legalization there at some point. Seems far off in the future, but I'm excited to see it happen.
Yeah, I know, me too. St. Vincent and Grenada go legal actually next month. They're starting to proceed into soil, so it's happening. It's not, and this industry is not waiting for anybody. So what is your mission in your work? I mean, why do you do what you do?
To have legal cannabis in as many parts of the world as possible. That's why I keep doing what I do.
It shouldn't have been made illegal in the first place.
What was that?
It shouldn't have been made illegal in the first place.
That's right. I mean, when I got into this, my only professional aspiration was to have a big warehouse full of weed. We did that about 8 or 9, 10 years ago. So at this point, I just want to keep pushing forward and see what this can become.
Yeah. And it is definitely blooming into an industry. And so what do you actually see the benefits of legalization being for the US or global economy?
Yeah, I mean, so many. You look locally in the Bay Area, and we've had, some, obviously there's, huge tax benefits, but also some of the social equity programs that have, started to arise out of Oakland, San Francisco, hopefully Sacramento soon. We've got a real opportunity here to do a lot more in our space. And I'm a big believer in what they call the curb cut effect, which, you know, not everyone's familiar with, but the kind of backstory on that is, you know, when the curbs were cut to create ramps for, you know, ADA accessible curbs, everybody was lifted up as a result. And, you know, could you picture a world where you were tripping over curbs all the time and bikes had to learn how to jump up them or jump off them, and, you know, elderly folks were tripping all over the place? I mean, this is, you know, this is something where the rising tide will lift all ships. I truly believe that. And cannabis has done that for me and, you know, all my friends and my network. And I think it's going to do incredible things worldwide in our lifetime.
For sure. And I'm looking forward to that as well. You know, you are considered to be one of the leaders in our field. So can you share 3 tips that helped you get here?
Wow. You know, I appreciate that, but I honestly, it's been very anticlimactic where, you know, we just keep moving forward. So I'd say the main tip would be just, you know, relentlessness. It's been a struggle at times, but, you know, we're really passionate about what we do. And, you know, we're just kind of made cannabis our work, our life and our work. It's so in that sense, never really stop working. You know, wake up early and go to bed late. And never turn off my phone when I'm on vacation, and just keep, you know, as I mentioned before, keep pushing the rock up the hill. Yeah. Another one would, you know, be that cannabis is a really small community, and, you know, people really do know each other. And I think, you know, conducting our business with integrity has been really important. And, you know, we've yeah, just try to keep, you know, not, I would say more than anything, just, you know, conducting our business with integrity and, you know, making sure that we're feeling good about what we do every day. And then I think also kind of, you know, it is a changing landscape all the time, and reinventing yourself is important from time to time. I mean, we were very much an unbranded cultivator just a few years ago, and, you know, had to figure out how to develop a brand and that whole piece of the puzzle. And yeah, it's always changing. So as soon as you think you've got it down and figured it out, it's brand new. So embracing the chaos is essential.
So with State Flower though, so what are all the strands that you actually cultivate, and how do you apply those strains to different illnesses, so to speak? Because I'm sure that's become a part of what it is that you do, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. We're actually really big into CBD strains, where a lot of those have, you know, sort of fallen off in some of the rec markets. We've really kind of kept those pushing forward, and the new one that I love is pineapple tonic. When I started working in Las Vegas, it could be a very anxiety-provoking kind of place. So I sort of switched my daily smoking to CBD. That helped a ton with anxiety. And, you know, I was on the Cannatonic at that point was our main kind of CBD staple. Okay. And a group we've been working with in California called Purple City Genetics bred a cross of Cannatonic and Pineapple OG called Pineapple Tonic, which is basically the same ratio, 2 to 1, and just full of flavor, amazing terpene profile. And that's my go-to now. And that's helped me. It's helped more people than I could count at this point. You know, we've always, until recently, unfortunately, we can't do this anymore, but in California, we had this compassionate care program where we make Rick Simpson oil out of CBD trim, and you know, would distribute it to folks who needed it free of charge. And unfortunately, there's rules against that now, but you know, I'd like to see some of that legislation get amended over time. But it really has helped a ton of people. A close friend of mine who actually painted this painting for State Flower in the background there is an epileptic, and he takes the oil daily. It's enabled him to kick a lot of his really, really heavy pharmaceuticals that he's had to take for years now. You know, I have family in New York and all over the place that unfortunately can't access medicine freely and have come out here to do so for all sorts of ailments. But particularly the high CBD strains that we cultivate, I'd say, you know, have the most kind of medicinal qualities of anything we do. And then, of course, there's other things. You'll appreciate this with the Caribbean background, but we love our lamb's bread. We still grow that. It's something that's disappeared. It's old Jamaican landrace, and that's got these qualities that you just don't find in a lot of modern strains that have been bred out. There's this incredible kind of euphoria that helps with depression and sleep deprivation, and it's things like that are ones that we hold on to and have a really hard time letting go, despite what the business landscape looks like.
Or even the legislation, right? I mean, that is amazing. I am all about the pineapple tonic. I am more of a sativa girl when it comes to the cannabis plant, and I'm just really exploring what hemp and CBD does. And I have so many clients that I've acquired here in Georgia that are in need of a good CBD strand to help with various things. I have a schizophrenic patient client, an 8-month-old with a rare epileptic disorder. So I definitely want to would love to talk to you further about what it is that you all are doing with CBD and the hemp plant, because it does amazing things. And it might not be as sexy as cannabis. Everybody's talking about cannabis, but hemp and what CBD can do medicinally, I feel like we're just beginning to really learn and understand and really explore what that cannabinoid can actually do.
No, you're right, we are. And, you'll see a lot more momentum in that department too. I mean, there's been some pretty amazing accelerated breeding programs recently to start kind of, getting just under the 0.3% THC threshold. So it can technically be considered industrial hemp, but still has, a lot of the other cannabinoids and terpenoids that do have incredible medicinal qualities. So more to come in that part.
I know. I'm excited. So what do you do to stay relevant in the industry, when there's so many newbies jumping in?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, really holding on to what we've done best for a long time, which are, some of these classics. And we do, of course, continue working with breeders and nurseries and, trying to develop new strains that are to keep us relevant. That's been important for sure. We've got some really exciting partnerships that we'll be announcing soon with some amazing breeders. So that's I think that's been key, but also just staying on top of the tech. Cultivation changes so rapidly. Automation is entering our space. Really figuring out where we can adopt certain practices without losing any of our kind of core focus, which has been a very manual process that hand trimmed and not cutting any corners and really avoiding machines for a long time. So now kind of, looking at what we can do to stay on top of things, but, not losing our identity.
And that's important. As this field or this industry grows, you want to make sure that you are catering to your target demo and staying true to your niche in this industry. And I think CBD is where it's at. Just the education piece alone is so important to help people to understand. With my schizophrenic client, for years, he was smoking cannabis thinking that, this is going to help with my anxiety because that's what weed does, right? He had no idea about hemp. And it was just trying hemp that has allowed him to come off of the anxiety pharmaceutical. And so he's just using hemp to manage his anxiety and stays away now from cannabis because that makes him more paranoid. It kicks up the psychoactive part. So I think that that's the most important part right now, especially with this farming bill, the federal farming bill that just passed through the Senate. If hemp is legalized in this country, it's going to explode onto the market, literally.
Absolutely. And I mean, politically speaking too, it's really hard to argue against a drug that has no psychoactive effects, right? I mean, my mom just had a hip replacement, for example, and she has never really been a cannabis user, and any kind of psychoactivity would really deter her. But CBD has been the answer for her. I mean, she's recovered so quickly. Yeah. Yep, huge. She's a believer now.
That's awesome. I love converting people. It's so much fun.
Me too.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm glad you've shared several testimonies with us, because that was going to be my next question. So I'm so grateful for that. I'm just grateful that the plant works. You know, it's not, we don't have to guess. We're like, look here, try this. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to stop your heart. It's not going to stop you from breathing. Try
There's
it.
no level of toxicity that's going to hurt you. It's
Yeah.
worst case scenario, you're going to get a little too high.
Yeah, a little too high. You might fall asleep. You might empty the fridge, but hey, you know, who's checking for that? As long as your heart doesn't stop beating, right? So do you target a certain demographic with your product? Or have you found it across the board to be appealing to anyone, for any reason?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Apothecarium has really been incredibly successful with an older demographic. Our founder and CEO, Ryan Hudson's genesis story of creating the Apothecarium was, you know, he was treating an ailment himself, and you know, went to dispensaries in San Francisco, and saw a lot of elderly folks asking, you know, really legitimate medical questions and not getting answers that they needed. And it's kind of a light bulb moment for him. So he built the Apothecarium with kind of ethos that it was a place that you could take your mother or grandmother and feel very comfortable for their first time experiencing cannabis. So, you know, in a sense that has influenced State Flower a lot, in that we really try to keep a very broad target demographic where we're, you know, not just appealing to the kind of under 25 with the latest, greatest, highest potency strains we could possibly breed, but, you know, really have something for everyone.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, that's good. And that means it's a one-stop shop, in other words.
That's right.
And that's great. So here I want us to talk about the industry itself, and you as a business, as a CEO of this industry, of a business in this industry for almost 20 years now, right? So what are your 5 top tips that you would give to someone to start a successful cannabis business?
Wow. Well, I'd say number 1, adapt and overcome. You know, it's a difficult space to navigate. There's definitely kind of landmines everywhere. So, you know, be ready. Yeah, I think specifically, you know, from sort of business development standpoint, you know, when you're budgeting, really expect delays. There's so much uncertainty with cannabis regulations, and it always becomes political, whether it's just working with your local building department or planning department. It doesn't matter what it is. Cannabis makes it harder.
Exactly.
You know, I think when you're expanding into a new space, don't try to do everything yourself. Early on, I got distracted and tried to do it all. Luckily, I've got an amazing team from Jeremy Cohen in San Francisco, who's just an incredible mad scientist who's obsessed with the plant and spends more time than anyone I know in the garden, to Brett Bridges in Las Vegas, who runs our Las Vegas facility. Ryan Hudson and Michael Thompson are the founders of Apothecarium, who've taught me probably more about business than anybody else. Just been really lucky to have a great team and not have to do everything myself. You know, there's a lot of domain experts on the team. And I think, you know, kind of lastly, just being a geographical expert. I'm so tempted to, especially with some of the consulting activities recently that have taken me overseas, try to go everywhere. And, you know, I mentioned earlier that really my mission is to, you know, figure out how to cultivate cannabis in as many parts of the world as possible. But that said, it's not always possible. And I know California, I know Nevada, and I know them intimately because I've been working here for so long. So I think, you know, when going to a new place, you know, partnering with somebody who is a local, a geographical expert, so to speak, and understands the local landscape is also essential.
So that would be the movement that you would try to start. Is that correct? That you would, what if you could influence the most people and influence for the good, what would that be? And that's to have the plant grown in every country in the world, right?
It's a movement we already started.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's slow but steady.
Right.
I like to say, make this analogy that, you know, the window is slowly closing, even though it's not open all the way yet. And so we have to stay diligent. We have to keep educating and making sure that we are putting out the right and most accurate information. That's important as well, about this plant and what it can do, you know. So could you please share with us maybe some of your life lesson quotes that you take with you, that you share with other people, that really have influenced you and gotten you through some hard times?
Yeah. So a book I read recently from the gentleman I mentioned before, who shall remain nameless, we'll just refer to him as Zach, no last name, told me I needed to read a book called Shantaram, which was really an amazing, amazing book. And the quote from that one that really stuck with me was, "We can do no better than to study the way the universe works and its nature. The fact that we're constantly moving towards greater complexity." And that's definitely true of this industry. We're always moving towards more complexity. I think as humankind, we're always moving towards more complexity.
Right.
You know, it's important to not lose your identity and hold on to those kind of simple truths that you've learned along the way, but to embrace the fact that things are changing, and you know, they're always going to continue to get more complex.
For sure. Share with us some future plans for State Flower, maybe in the next 12 months or, you know, 2 years. What's the latest and greatest with State Flower? What can we expect from you guys?
Yeah, we have some really exciting projects in the work. Unfortunately, I can't talk about some of them because we're in some pretty ironclad agreements.
I understand.
But we are looking to build a national brand. We're working on establishing some partnerships right now to really help us do that. Been, as I mentioned before, doing some consulting overseas in places where I never imagined the cannabis would be legal in my lifetime, but working on that. And that's also, unfortunately, something I need to be a little tight-lipped about, as is the nature of our business. But you know, hopefully soon these will all be things that we can announce. There'll be some press releases coming out, and yeah, it'll be out there. And I'd like to circle back then and speak about it more.
We'd love that. We'd love to have you back on to talk about what else you got coming up. So tell our followers, tell our listeners, how do we find you? How do we get in touch and find out more about State Flower? When I come to Vegas, I'm coming to see you. So tell our followers how they can find you guys.
Cool. So our products are always available at the Apothecarium dispensaries, among many others, but those are our retail partners who we love and who love us, and we've had an amazing relationship. Right. You can find us on at Our State Flower _California, or _CA. It's at Our State Flower _CA or _NV if you're in Nevada. And www.stateflowercannabis.com.
Nice.
And soon to be many other places too, which I will definitely keep you posted on.
So excited for you. That's awesome. And I think that I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to like the video and like this interview, because you've given us some gems here, and we thank you so much for sharing with us your personal journey, your personal story to cannabis, and keep up all the good work that, you know, if there's any way that we can help get some new information out there, please share that with us. So because we definitely want to make sure. I know I had a question. So do you honor the THC card for Georgia? So if a client needed to go onto your website, would you honor that card in order to get medicine sent to them?
Unfortunately, we cannot send anything across state lines yet. Let's hope that changes soon.
Very soon.
But right now in California and Nevada, anybody can walk in our door who's 21 or over and purchase State Flower products. But yeah, let's hope that in a very short space of time that is a thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Daniel. We really appreciate you being here with us today and taking some time to talk to us about your personal journey and what you expect for State Flower. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure being here. And thanks for sharing a bit about your story too.
Thank you. Thank you for being so accepting. So take care now. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.